The morning sun cast long shadows across the manicured gardens of Clarence House as Queen Camilla prepared for what she believed would be another routine day in her royal schedule. The autumn of 2024 had been particularly busy for the royal family, with King Charles continuing his cancer treatment while maintaining his constitutional duties. Camilla had taken on additional responsibilities, ensuring the monarchy's work continued seamlessly during this challenging period. Sarah Mitchell, a 28-year-old nanny from Yorkshire, had been working at various royal residences for nearly 3 years. Her impeccable references and warm demeanor had made her a trusted member of the household staff. She specialized in caring for the grandchildren during their visits to their royal grandparents, creating a bridge between the formal world of palace life and the innocent joy of childhood. That Tuesday morning began like any other. Sarah arrived at Clarence House at 7:30, her usual time, carrying her well-worn canvas bag filled with activities and treats for the young royals who would be visiting later that day. Princess Anne's grandchildren were expected for lunch, followed by an afternoon of games in the private gardens. The weather was crisp but pleasant, perfect for outdoor activities that would tire the energetic youngsters. The security team at Clarence House had recently implemented new protocols following intelligence reports about potential threats to royal family members. These measures, while necessary, had created an atmosphere of heightened awareness among all staff members. Every bag was checked, every routine scrutinized, and every unfamiliar face questioned. The balance between maintaining royal family privacy and ensuring their safety had become increasingly delicate. As Sarah passed through the staff entrance, the metal detector began beeping insistently. Security Officer James Patterson, a veteran of 15 years protecting the royal family, immediately stepped forward. His trained eye noticed Sarah's nervous fidgeting as she emptied her pockets, placing keys, a mobile phone, and a small wrapped package on the security desk. The package, roughly the size of a cigarette box, was wrapped in brown paper and sealed with tape. When James asked about its contents, Sarah's explanation seemed rehearsed and unconvincing. She claimed it contained homemade biscuits for the children, a gift from her elderly grandmother who lived in a small village outside York. Her voice wavered slightly as she spoke, and she avoided making direct eye contact with the security officer. James had seen enough suspicious behavior during his career to recognize the warning signs. The package felt unusually heavy for biscuits, and there was a slight metallic sound when he gently shook it. His training kicked in immediately, and he activated the standard security protocol for potentially dangerous items. Within minutes, the bomb disposal unit was contacted, and Clarence House began implementing emergency evacuation procedures. Word of the security alert reached Queen Camilla's private secretary within 10 minutes of the initial discovery. The Queen was in her private study reviewing correspondence and preparing for a meeting with charity representatives later that morning. When informed of the situation, her first concern was for the safety of all household staff and any visitors who might be in the building. The evacuation proceeded with military precision. Staff members were quickly but calmly directed to designated safe areas, while security teams swept the building for any additional threats. Sarah Mitchell found herself separated from other staff members and escorted to a secure room where she would wait for questioning. Her confusion and growing panic were evident as she realized the serious nature of the situation she had inadvertently created. Queen Camilla made the decision to remain on the premises despite security recommendations to relocate to a safer location. Her presence, she believed, would demonstrate confidence in the security measures and prevent panic among the household staff. From her position in the secure command center, she monitored the unfolding situation while maintaining communication with King Charles, who was at Windsor Castle preparing for his own engagements. The bomb disposal experts arrived within 25 minutes, their specialized equipment and protective gear creating an imposing presence in the normally serene surroundings of Clarence House. The carefully wrapped package was transported to a secure area where it could be safely examined. Every procedure was followed meticulously, with constant communication between the disposal team and the security command center. As the morning progressed, media outlets began receiving reports of unusual activity at Clarence House. Photographers with long-range lenses positioned themselves at strategic points around the royal residence, hoping to capture images that might explain the increased security presence. The palace press office worked quickly to manage the situation, providing minimal information while ensuring public safety remained the priority. Sarah Mitchell's background check, initially conducted when she first joined the royal household staff, was immediately reviewed in detail. Her employment history, personal relationships, and financial situation came under intense scrutiny. Investigators contacted her previous employers, family members, and friends, searching for any indication of radicalization or suspicious associations that might have been overlooked during her original vetting process. The young nanny's mobile phone was confiscated and immediately analyzed by digital forensics experts. Her recent calls, text messages, and internet browsing history were examined for any suspicious patterns or communications with known threats. Social media accounts associated with her name and email address were monitored for unusual activity or concerning content that might indicate involvement in a planned attack. Meanwhile, the extended royal family was quietly informed of the security situation. Prince William and Princess Catherine were briefed about the incident, as were other senior royals who might need to adjust their schedules if the investigation revealed a broader threat. The carefully orchestrated machine of royal protection had shifted into high gear, with every possible scenario being considered and planned for. Queen Camilla's concern extended beyond the immediate security threat to the well-being of Sarah Mitchell herself. If the young woman was innocent of any wrongdoing, the traumatic experience of being suspected of plotting against the royal family would have lasting psychological effects. The Queen instructed her staff to ensure that Sarah was treated with dignity and respect throughout the investigation process, while maintaining all necessary security precautions. The bomb disposal team's preliminary examination of the suspicious package revealed something unexpected. Rather than explosive materials or dangerous chemicals, the package contained what appeared to be a collection of small metal objects wrapped in tissue paper. The discovery raised new questions about Sarah's intentions and the true nature of the threat she might pose to the royal household. As news of the security alert began circulating beyond the immediate royal protection team, government security services were brought into the investigation. MI5 agents specializing in threats against the monarchy were dispatched to assist with the interrogation and evidence analysis. The incident, while potentially minor, was treated with the same seriousness as any credible threat against the royal family. The atmosphere at Clarence House remained tense, as staff members waited in designated safe areas, uncertain about when they would be allowed to return to their normal duties. Some had worked in royal households for decades and had never experienced such a dramatic security incident. Their whispered conversations revealed both concern for their own safety and sympathy for Sarah, whom many regarded as a dedicated and caring member of their team. Queen Camilla used the waiting period to review existing security protocols with her protection team. Recent international events had highlighted the evolving nature of threats against high-profile targets, and she wanted to ensure that Clarence House was prepared for any eventuality. Her calm leadership during the crisis impressed even veteran security officers who had protected royals for many years. The investigation team prepared for a detailed interrogation of Sarah Mitchell, knowing that her answers would determine whether the incident was resolved quickly or escalated to a full-scale security investigation. Her family in Yorkshire was contacted and asked about any recent changes in her behavior or unusual circumstances that might explain the suspicious package. The next few hours would be crucial in determining the true nature of the threat and Sarah's role in creating it. The interrogation room at Clarence House had been hastily converted from a staff meeting space into a secure area suitable for questioning a potential security threat. Sarah Mitchell sat across from Detective Inspector Robert Thornton, a specialist in royal protection investigations, while two MI5 agents observed from the corner. The atmosphere was professional but unmistakably serious, with recording equipment documenting every word of the conversation. Sarah's hands trembled as she accepted a cup of tea offered by one of the agents. Her initial shock at being detained had given way to a desperate need to explain herself, though her story remained confusing and incomplete. She insisted repeatedly that the package contained nothing more than a childhood keepsake, but her inability to provide clear details about its contents only heightened suspicions among the security team. Detective Inspector Thornton had conducted hundreds of similar interviews during his career, but cases involving potential threats to the royal family required exceptional care and thoroughness. He began with basic questions about Sarah's background, employment history, and daily routines, establishing a baseline for her responses before moving to more specific inquiries about the suspicious package and her recent activities. The breakdown of the package's contents by the bomb disposal team had revealed 5 small metal figurines wrapped carefully in tissue paper. Each figurine appeared to be a miniature soldier from different historical periods, ranging from Roman centurions to World War II infantry. The craftsmanship was remarkable, with intricate details that suggested they were valuable collector's items rather than mass-produced toys. Sarah's explanation for possessing the figurines emerged slowly during the interrogation. She claimed they had belonged to her late grandfather, a military history enthusiast who had served in the Royal Navy during the Korean War. According to Sarah, her grandmother had given her the figurines to show to the royal children, believing they would be interested in learning about British military history from different eras. The story seemed plausible on the surface, but several details troubled the investigation team. Sarah could not explain why the figurines were wrapped so carefully, or why she had not mentioned them during her security screening. Her grandmother's address and contact information, when verified, led to a small cottage in North Yorkshire, where an elderly woman confirmed knowing Sarah, but seemed confused about any gift involving military figurines. Queen Camilla received regular updates on the interrogation progress from her private secretary, who maintained direct communication with the security team. The Queen's afternoon schedule had been completely rearranged, with several important meetings postponed indefinitely. Her primary concern remained the safety of her household staff, and the need to determine whether Sarah Mitchell represented a genuine threat or was simply caught in an unfortunate misunderstanding. Meanwhile, a thorough search of Sarah's personal quarters in the staff accommodation block revealed additional puzzling evidence. Hidden beneath her mattress, investigators discovered a collection of newspaper clippings related to royal family activities, dating back nearly 2 years. The clippings focused primarily on Queen Camilla's public engagements, with particular attention to events involving children's charities and educational initiatives. The discovery of the newspaper clippings significantly escalated concerns about Sarah's intentions and mental state. While maintaining a collection of royal news might be considered normal for someone working in the household, the secretive manner in which the clippings were hidden suggested a more troubling obsession. Each clipping had been carefully cut and organized chronologically, with some articles containing handwritten notes in the margins. Digital forensics analysis of Sarah's mobile phone revealed a pattern of internet searches that further complicated the investigation. Over the past 6 months, she had repeatedly searched for information about royal security procedures, palace floor plans, and historical assassinations attempts against British monarchs. While such searches might be explained as professional interest or curiosity, their frequency and specific focus raised red flags for the security team. The investigation expanded to include Sarah's social media activity and email correspondence. Her Facebook account showed a gradual shift in her posts over the previous year, from cheerful updates about her work with royal children to increasingly critical comments about social inequality and the relevance of the monarchy in modern Britain. Several posts contained veiled references to making a difference and taking action when others won't. Sarah's family in Yorkshire was contacted again for more detailed questioning about her recent behavior and political views. Her younger sister, Emma, reluctantly admitted that Sarah had become increasingly isolated and argumentative during family gatherings. She had expressed frustration with her position as just a servant to people who lived in luxury while ordinary citizens struggled with economic hardship. The psychological profile being developed by MI5 specialists suggested that Sarah Mitchell might be experiencing a form of ideological radicalization, possibly triggered by personal grievances and exposure to anti-monarchist propaganda online. Her access to the royal family, combined with her growing resentment, could potentially make her a significant security risk even without direct involvement in any organized plot. Queen Camilla's decision to order a comprehensive investigation into the incident reflected her understanding of the broader implications beyond the immediate security threat. If Sarah had indeed been planning some form of attack or demonstration, it would highlight serious vulnerabilities in the royal household's screening and monitoring procedures. The Queen was determined to ensure that such gaps were identified and addressed before they could be exploited by more dangerous individuals. The bomb disposal team's detailed analysis of the metal figurines revealed an unexpected discovery that changed the entire trajectory of the investigation. Concealed within the base of one figurine was a small electronic device, no larger than a watch battery, with tiny wires and what appeared to be a miniature antenna. The device was immediately transferred to specialized laboratories for analysis by electronics experts and counterintelligence specialists. Initial examination of the electronic device suggested it might be a listening device or tracking beacon, though its crude construction indicated amateur assembly rather than professional intelligence equipment. The discovery transformed the investigation from a potential bombing threat to a possible espionage case, requiring involvement from additional government agencies and international security services. Sarah's interrogation resumed with renewed intensity as investigators confronted her with evidence of the electronic device. Her reaction was one of genuine surprise and confusion, insisting she had no knowledge of any such device being concealed within the figurines. She maintained that the items had been given to her exactly as found, wrapped and sealed by her grandmother, whom she trusted completely. The investigation team faced a complex puzzle involving multiple possible explanations for the events at Clarence House. Sarah might be a sophisticated operative using an elaborate cover story, or she could be an innocent victim manipulated by others who used her access to the royal household for surveillance purposes. Alternatively, she might be mentally unstable and potentially dangerous, regardless of her involvement with any organized threat. Surveillance footage from various locations around Clarence House was reviewed to track Sarah's movements and interactions over the previous weeks. The analysis revealed several instances where she had spent time in areas of the building that were not directly related to her childcare duties, including corridors near Queen Camilla's private offices and the communications center where sensitive royal business was conducted. The expanded investigation began examining other household staff members who had regular contact with Sarah, searching for signs of suspicious behavior or potential accomplices. Every employee who had access to the areas where Sarah had been observed was subjected to additional background checks and questioning. The process was exhaustive and time-consuming, but necessary to ensure the security of the royal residence. Queen Camilla's patience and methodical approach to the crisis impressed both her security team and government officials monitoring the situation. Rather than demanding immediate answers or rushing to judgment, she insisted on a thorough investigation that would either clear Sarah Mitchell of wrongdoing or provide sufficient evidence for appropriate legal action. Her handling of the crisis demonstrated the steady leadership that had made her an effective queen consort. As evening approached, the investigation team prepared for a long night of evidence analysis and continued questioning. The discovery of the electronic device had opened new avenues of inquiry that would require coordination with international intelligence services and technical experts. The true nature of the threat to Clarence House was still unknown, but the stakes had clearly risen beyond a simple security scare involving a confused young nanny. The electronics laboratory at Government Communications Headquarters worked through the night analyzing the mysterious device found concealed within the military figurine. Dr. Margaret Chen, a specialist in miniaturized surveillance equipment, led a team of technicians in carefully dismantling the crude but functional listening device. Their findings would prove crucial in determining the true scope of the security breach at Clarence House. Under high-powered microscopes, the device revealed construction techniques consistent with commercially available electronics tutorials found on various internet forums. The components were basic but effective, capable of transmitting audio signals over short distances to a receiver located somewhere within the grounds of the royal residence. Most concerning was evidence that the device had been recently activated, suggesting active surveillance had been taking place during Sarah Mitchell's time at Clarence House. Queen Camilla spent a restless night in her private apartments, receiving hourly updates on the investigation's progress. The possibility that her private conversations and sensitive royal business had been monitored by unknown parties represented a security breach of unprecedented severity. She maintained her composure publicly, but privately struggled with feelings of violation and concern for the safety of her family and staff. At dawn, a breakthrough in the investigation came from an unexpected source. Sarah Mitchell's grandmother, Margaret Thompson, arrived unannounced at the Yorkshire police station nearest her village cottage, accompanied by her neighbor and longtime friend, Harold Wainwright. The 82-year-old woman appeared distressed and confused, carrying a cardboard box that she claimed contained important information about the figurines she had given to her granddaughter. Margaret's story, told haltingly to patient police officers, revealed a web of deception that had ensnared both her and Sarah. 3 months earlier, a well-dressed man claiming to be a military history researcher had visited her cottage, expressing interest in her late husband's collection of military memorabilia. He identified himself as Dr. Jonathan Pierce from the Imperial War Museum, complete with official-looking credentials and business cards. The man, who appeared to be in his 40s with a refined accent and extensive knowledge of military history, had gained Margaret's trust through several visits, where he examined her husband's collection and shared stories about similar artifacts in the museum's archives. He expressed particular interest in the 5 figurines that had been custom-made by a skilled craftsman as a birthday gift from Margaret's husband during his naval service. Pierce, as he called himself, had convinced Margaret to allow him to restore the figurines using modern conservation techniques that would preserve them for future generations. He claimed the museum had developed new methods for cleaning and protecting such delicate pieces, and offered to perform the work free of charge as part of a research project on military collectibles owned by veterans' families. The restoration process, according to Pierce, required taking the figurines to the museum's specialized laboratory for several weeks. Margaret, trusting and eager to preserve her husband's memory, had agreed to the arrangement. When the figurines were returned, they appeared unchanged except for what Pierce described as protective coating that would prevent tarnishing and corrosion over time. Margaret had decided to give the figurines to Sarah as a surprise gift, knowing her granddaughter's work with royal children and believing they would appreciate learning about military history. She had carefully wrapped them without examining them closely, wanting to preserve the surprise. It was only after learning about the security incident at Clarence House that Margaret began to suspect she had been deceived by the mysterious Dr. Pierce. The Imperial War Museum, when contacted by investigators, confirmed they had no employee named Jonathan Pierce and no ongoing research project involving privately owned military figurines. The business cards and credentials that had convinced Margaret Thompson were sophisticated forgeries, suggesting the involvement of individuals with access to professional printing equipment and detailed knowledge of museum operations. Security camera footage from Margaret's village was reviewed to identify the man who had posed as Dr. Pierce. While the rural location had limited surveillance coverage, cameras at the village post office captured images of a silver sedan visiting the area on dates corresponding to Pierce's alleged research visits. The vehicle's license plates were traced to a car rental company in Leeds, where the rental agreement had been signed using a false identity and stolen credit card information. The investigation team realized they were dealing with a sophisticated intelligence operation rather than the actions of a confused nanny or amateur terrorist. The use of an elderly woman as an unwitting accomplice, combined with the elaborate cover story and professional forgeries, suggested involvement by trained operatives with significant resources and planning capabilities. Sarah Mitchell's interrogation resumed with this new information, and her relief was palpable when confronted with evidence that she had been unknowingly manipulated. Her earlier nervousness and inconsistent statements were recontextualized as the natural reactions of someone confused about events beyond her understanding. However, questions remained about whether she had been selected randomly or targeted specifically for her access to the royal household. Analysis of the listening device's transmission capabilities revealed it had been programmed to activate only in the presence of certain voice patterns and keywords. The sophistication of this targeting suggested the device had been designed to monitor specific conversations involving Queen Camilla or other senior royals, rather than conducting general surveillance of household activities. MI5 counterintelligence specialists began developing profiles of potential foreign intelligence services capable of mounting such an operation. The careful planning, use of unwitting accomplices, and focus on the British royal family pointed to several possibilities, including hostile nations seeking intelligence about royal family activities or terrorist organizations planning future attacks against monarchist targets. The investigation expanded to examine other household staff members who might have been targeted in similar operations. Background checks were intensified for all employees with access to sensitive areas of royal residences, and new protocols were implemented to detect and prevent the introduction of surveillance devices through seemingly innocent gifts or personal belongings. Queen Camilla made the decision to brief King Charles fully on the investigation's findings during a secure video conference between Clarence House and Windsor Castle. The king's reaction was one of controlled anger at the violation of their privacy and determination to ensure such breaches could not occur again. Both monarchs agreed that the investigation should continue with maximum resources until all responsible parties were identified and apprehended. the search for the mysterious Dr. Paxson. Jonathan Pierce intensified as investigators realized he might have targeted other military families with valuable collections. Police forces across northern England were alerted to watch for similar confidence tricks involving fake museum researchers, and appeals were made through veterans organizations for information about suspicious contacts from alleged historians or museum officials. Technical analysis of the listening device revealed traces of foreign-manufactured components, though the specific origins were difficult to determine due to the global nature of electronic supply chains. However, certain design characteristics and assembly techniques provided clues about the educational background and training of whoever had built the surveillance equipment. The investigation team faced mounting pressure to resolve the case quickly while maintaining absolute secrecy about the security breach. News media had detected unusual activity around Clarence House, but remained unaware of the true nature of the incident. Managing public information while conducting a thorough investigation required careful coordination between Royal Protection Services, government agencies, and press relations specialists. Sarah Mitchell's psychological evaluation revealed significant trauma from her experience as an unwitting participant in the espionage operation. Despite her eventual exoneration from any deliberate wrongdoing, she struggled with guilt over having unknowingly endangered the royal family. Queen Camilla personally approved comprehensive counseling support for the young woman, recognizing her need for professional help to process the traumatic events. Meanwhile, surveillance operations were established around locations where Dr. Pierce might appear, including military museums, veterans organizations, and antique dealers specializing in military memorabilia. The hope was that his success in targeting Margaret Thompson might encourage him to attempt similar operations against other unsuspecting collectors. The broader implications of the security breach extended beyond the immediate threat to encompass questions about the vulnerability of the royal family to sophisticated intelligence operations. Parliamentary committees responsible for oversight of security services demanded briefings on the incident, while international allies were quietly informed about the potential threat to visiting dignitaries who might be targeted through similar methods. As the third day of the investigation concluded, the hunt for Dr. Jonathan Pierce and his associates had become a priority operation involving multiple government agencies and international intelligence services. The sophisticated nature of the plot suggested connections to larger espionage networks that posed ongoing threats to British national security interests beyond the royal family. The breakthrough in identifying Dr. Jonathan Pierce came from an unlikely source during the fourth day of the investigation. Emma Mitchell, Sarah's younger sister, contacted police with information about a man who had approached her several months earlier at a coffee shop near the university where she studied history. The man, who matched the description of Pierce, had struck up a conversation about military history and her family's connection to naval service through their grandfather. Emma's detailed recollection of the encounter revealed sophisticated social engineering techniques designed to gather intelligence about Sarah's background and access to the royal household. The man had skillfully directed the conversation toward Emma's family relationships, showing particular interest when she mentioned her sister's employment caring for royal children. He had presented himself as a graduate student researching post-war military families, complete with university credentials that Emma had not thought to verify. The conversation had lasted nearly an hour, during which Pierce had gathered extensive information about the Thompson family history, the grandfather's naval service, and the existence of his military memorabilia collection. Most significantly, he had learned about Margaret Thompson's trusting nature and her desire to preserve her husband's memory through sharing his collection with younger generations. Security services immediately traced Pierce's fraudulent university credentials to a sophisticated identity theft operation that had been creating false academic affiliations for several years. The same criminal network had been used by foreign intelligence services to provide cover identities for operatives conducting research missions in sensitive locations, including military installations, government facilities, and private residences of high-value targets. The investigation revealed that Pierce was likely a foreign national working under deep cover, possibly for several years, while building relationships with families connected to British security services, military personnel, and government officials. His operation represented a patient, long-term intelligence-gathering effort that had probably compromised dozens of households before targeting the royal family through Sarah Mitchell. Queen Camilla's response to these revelations demonstrated her understanding of the broader security implications beyond the immediate threat to her household. She authorized unprecedented cooperation between Royal Protection Services and national intelligence agencies, sharing sensitive information about royal family routines and security procedures to help identify other potential vulnerabilities that Pierce might have discovered. The hunt for Pierce intensified when surveillance cameras at a London railway station captured images of a man matching his description purchasing tickets to Dover, suggesting a possible attempt to flee the country. Border security was immediately enhanced, with particular attention to ferry terminals and private airfields that might provide escape routes to continental Europe. Concurrent investigations revealed that Pierce had been methodically targeting military families across northern England, using variations of his museum researcher cover story to gain access to homes containing potentially valuable intelligence. In addition to military memorabilia, he had shown interest in family photographs, personal documents, and stories about relatives who served in sensitive government positions. The sophisticated nature of Pierce's operation suggested coordination with a larger intelligence network that had been operating undetected in Britain for an extended period. Counterintelligence services began reviewing cases dating back several years, searching for patterns of suspicious research activities, thefts of sensitive materials, and unexplained security breaches that might be connected to the same network. Sarah Mitchell's ordeal finally began to resolve as evidence mounted that she had been an innocent victim of a complex espionage operation. However, her psychological recovery would require months of counseling and support to overcome the trauma of being suspected of plotting against the royal family. Queen Camilla personally ensured that Sarah received the best available mental health care and was offered alternative employment that would not require security clearance. The listening device analysis revealed that it had transmitted several recordings of conversations in areas where Queen Camilla conducted private business, including telephone calls with government officials and discussions about sensitive royal family matters. The intelligence value of this information to hostile foreign governments was significant, potentially compromising diplomatic initiatives and security arrangements for future royal engagements. Parliamentary oversight committees demanded comprehensive reviews of security procedures at all royal residences, questioning whether existing protocols were adequate to detect sophisticated intelligence operations. The incident highlighted the challenge of protecting public figures who must maintain relationships with hundreds of staff members while remaining accessible to the communities they serve. International intelligence agencies shared information about similar operations targeting government officials, military leaders, and other high-profile individuals across Europe and North America. The Pierce operation appeared to be part of a coordinated campaign to gather intelligence about Western security services and their protected persons through manipulation of family connections and personal relationships. The search for Pierce reached a dramatic conclusion when armed police surrounded a safe house in East London where he had been hiding while arranging his escape from Britain. The arrest operation revealed additional surveillance equipment, false identity documents, and communication devices linking him to a foreign intelligence service that had been conducting operations against British interests for several years. Pierce's interrogation, conducted under strict security protocols, revealed the extent of his intelligence-gathering activities and the names of other operatives working within his network. His cooperation, obtained through plea negotiations, led to the arrest of 6 additional foreign agents and the disruption of intelligence operations that had been targeting British government officials, military personnel, and members of the royal family. The resolution of the crisis at Clarence House led to comprehensive reforms of royal security procedures, including enhanced background checking of household staff, regular sweeps for surveillance devices, and improved protocols for handling gifts and personal items brought into royal residences. These measures, while necessary for security, required careful implementation to maintain the approachable character that made the monarchy relevant to ordinary citizens. Queen Camilla's leadership during the crisis earned praise from government officials and security professionals who had observed her calm decision-making under pressure. Her insistence on thorough investigation rather than quick fixes had uncovered a serious threat to national security that might otherwise have continued undetected for years. Margaret Thompson, the elderly woman whose trust had been exploited by Pierce, received support from victim services and compensation for her unwitting role in the intelligence operation. Her cooperation with the investigation had been crucial in identifying Pierce and understanding his methods, potentially preventing similar operations against other vulnerable families. The case files on the Pierce operation were classified at the highest levels of government security, with access restricted to officials directly involved in protecting national security interests. However, lessons learned from the investigation were incorporated into training programs for security services, police forces, and protection units responsible for safeguarding other high-value targets. Sarah Mitchell eventually returned to work in childcare, though not within royal households, after completing her psychological recovery program. Her experience had fundamentally changed her understanding of security threats and the sophisticated methods used by foreign intelligence services to exploit innocent people for espionage purposes. The incident at Clarence House served as a watershed moment for royal security, demonstrating that traditional protection methods were inadequate against modern intelligence threats. The evolution of security procedures, while maintaining public accessibility to the royal family, became a model for protecting other government officials and public figures facing similar risks. Queen Camilla's personal involvement in supporting Sarah Mitchell's recovery and ensuring Margaret Thompson received appropriate care reflected her understanding that the human cost of intelligence operations extended far beyond their immediate targets. Her compassionate response helped heal the psychological wounds inflicted by Pierce's manipulation while reinforcing the values of dignity and service that define the modern monarchy. The successful resolution of the emergency at Clarence House, through patient investigation and international cooperation, strengthened Britain's defenses against foreign intelligence threats, while preserving the openness and accessibility that make the royal family an enduring symbol of national unity. The lessons learned from confronting this sophisticated espionage operation continue to inform security practices protecting not only the monarchy but democratic institutions throughout the Western world.